All right, guys, welcome back. It's Chef Tush coming at you from the Tush Mahal, indoors again on the coffee table. And we are back on the 1959 Triumph TR3A project. If you watched my last couple of videos, you'll know that I've been working on my way through the interior bits. A couple of videos ago, we did the dash recovering, and the last video we did the dash or cockpit capping recovering. And I'd mentioned at the end of that video that we'd probably be looking at doing the seats, and eventually we'll be doing the back panel as well. But I figured I would pull the seats out of the basement so we can have a little bit better look at them and understand what we need to buy from a material perspective. So that is what we're going to do today. Is we're just going to take some general overview, some photographs before we start tearing apart into these to see what the base structure of these seats looks like so I can get some material ordered. I do have the seat kits, but the seat kits I have basically are just the covers for the back and the seat base. It doesn't have any of the things like the horsehair or the jute or any of the other coverings that I might find underneath these coverings. So we're going to do a bit of an exploration and come up with a material list. We'll probably have to do a little bit of painting and refinishing of the actual metal seat bases as well. So I need to get these seats taken apart before I know what to do to progress forwards on them. So that's what we're going to do tonight is, like I said, do an overview and then start taking them apart to see what's underneath these covers. One of the interesting observations I've already made on these seats is that it seems like these seats have been recovered once already. I don't believe these are the original covers, and you might be asking me, well, how do you know that? Well, I believe if I look through here, it looks like the original covers are underneath this cover. So it looks like this was just recovered over the original covers. So that's how I know that. So I will get there eventually. I thought that was kind of interesting right off the bat, that it looks like it's just being recovered over the old covers. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same on the back piece, but the base piece is looking that way. All right, what we'll do is we'll separate the seat base from the seat back. This is the, as mentioned, this is the driver's side seat. So these just basically detach like that. And the reason why this is the driver's side seat, if you're not familiar with the Triumph TR3 and Triumph TR3A, I'm not sure if it goes as far back as the TR2, but there are two different seats in the TR3s. So the passenger seat generally is a folding back, while the driver's seat is a fixed backrest. So this is the fixed backrest side. So the opposing seat would fold forward so somebody could technically get into the back seat, because in some regards, these cars were fitted with an optional rear seat. So the passenger side seat back tipped forward to allow egress into the back seat for very small passengers. Anyway, let's take a look at the seat bottom first. All right, we've done a quick overview of the seat and checked out the springs on the bottom, and they actually look to be in pretty good shape. I don't really see any broken springs. I believe this bottom, I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I think this bottom may have been supposed to have been wrapped with burlap as well as the top, but I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that. Anyway, it seems like the cover is held on with a bunch of hog rings all the way around the outside of the seat. So I'll just take a quick shot of that. And what we'll do is we'll take notes out of how these covers are attached here at the base and stretched over the base as we go along. So like I said, I'm not sure. I believe this probably is the original seat underneath of this cover. So we'll see what it looks like once we get there. It'll be interesting to know what these pieces of paper are in here. So I'm interested to see what that says down there. But anyway, let's start taking these apart. Like I said, we'll pull out these hog rings and we'll try to slip the old cover off and then try to figure out if we need to do the same process to get the cover underneath off as well. So we'll get there when we get there. All right, guys, the top cover is off and we are back to where we started. So who knows, this might be the original seat cover that was on the car. I can't imagine that it was recovered 3 times, but you never know. So we'll go through the process again of taking off this cover. So just basically hog ringed on and stretched over the frame on the bottom. It's pretty simple. That's why I started with the seat base first, because I know the seat back is going to be much more complex. So we'll take baby steps and tackle this first before we tackle the seat back. All right, so we've got the base uncovered, and we're just looking at the original horsehair here, and it actually looks to be in pretty good shape overall considering the age. We definitely will need some new burlap. You can see that's deteriorated on the sides here, and you can see this batting material around the front. So I've definitely got new batting material that we can build this up with. The seat base or horsehair doesn't look too bad. There's a bit of a thin spot here that we'll have to build up, and I've got some ideas for what kind of material I can use to build these areas up, and I'll share that with you at a later date. A little bit unconventional, but I think it'll work. Anyway, so looking pretty good, and we're just getting to the point now where I want to detach this horsehair from the metal frame and see what we're left with after we get this off. Hopefully it'll come off the base here without being too much trouble. Hopefully it's not glued on very solidly and I don't lose a lot of horsehair along the way. It definitely smells like an old British sports car in here. Definitely it's got that old British sports car smell. Let's just say that. So anyway, let's go to the next step and try to remove this material and this horsehair from the spring base. Okay, the horsehair is off the seat base, and interesting that it was actually stitched on using this twine, little pieces of twine here. It was stitched through and up the actual spring base. I thought there was actually glued on, but that's kind of cool. So to be honest with you, this is not in that bad a shape. It does need to be built up in certain areas, but overall it's not too bad. Even the batting's in pretty good shape. I have no idea whether this is original or not. I'm assuming that it probably is, at least the horsehair. So the bottom looks like it's had a little bit of batting built up in this area here, probably to fill out. You can see more of that twine here where this was affixed to the actual base. So little thin there, as mentioned before, but other than that, little thin on the sides. We can do some repairs there. So looking at the burlap here underneath, again, this is going to be all replaced, and it's seen better days. And I always love seeing these tags. Now, again, I don't know if this is an original seat tag. Somebody might be able to have a look out there, but it's possible. Don't know what this actually stands for. Is that potentially a date up there that says 56? I don't know if they would have made these seat faces so far in advance. This was for a 59 or 60 car, so who knows? Actually, I think the seat bases, the early seat bases were different from the late seat bases, so that's probably not right. So anyway, I'm going to strip this the rest of the way and take the burlap off so we can get down to the springs. And I'll just take a few more photos of everything before we go ahead and take all of this burlap off entirely. We'll take a few more pictures of the underside of the horsehair here, and then we'll go from there. So a little bit hard to tell on the burlap, but it looks like the burlap came down the sides and went up on the inside of the rail, and then was wrapped around the edge and then stapled. I'm running into metal staples down here in this area. I've just pulled out a couple staples. Looks like it was stapled onto itself. So I think that's the way that was wrapped. So we'll endeavor to do the same sort of wrapping. This looks a little different here at the front though. That's going on the outside. So I'm not sure if that's this important, but I want to try to keep the same sort of wrapping structure if I can. So the front looks to be wrapped around the outside nose of the frame, I think. Yeah, for sure. We can see that there. That's on the outside. But anyway, hard to deconstruct this in such bad shape, but we'll do the best we can to take some notes and figure out how to wrap this back properly. Looks like it's just sort of layered over in this area. So just probably to take up some of the slack. All right, we'll continue to take this old burlap off, then we'll break the vacuum cleaner out and vacuum all this 60-year-old crap up off the coffee table. Okay, we've got the old burlap now off. Basically just cut it off the frame. The frame is surprisingly in very good condition. I don't see any broken springs whatsoever. And Les is over here keeping me company, supervising my work here. So I don't see any broken springs, which is a good thing. I don't see any heavy rust, which I'm really shocked about. So again, I'd be interesting to know if this is the actual original spring set for this car. I have a feeling it is. Maybe I'll do a little post on one of the forums and see if anybody else has experienced this this tag before. Again, I'm not sure what this little piece of material down here is doing, but anyway, we'll leave it in there. So we're going to discard this this old burlap. It stinks pretty bad. So we'll discard this, clean up this board, and the next step will be to then, now that I understand what I require as far as materials are concerned for the seat base, then we'll start doing some deconstructive surgery on the seat back and see what I require for that piece. That'll be for another night. All right, guys, we've got the seat frame and seat back now up on the table, and we're just about to start deconstructing it to see what's underneath the covers. And I thought I would just take you through a quick overview of what the seat looks like today. So it doesn't look too bad. Obviously, the covers are pretty worn. I don't think there's an extra cover under this one, but you never know until we get there. Some of the fabric is pretty torn up and missing. But other than that, it gives me a pretty good example of what's going on here. So as far as the way the fabric is attached to the actual frame itself. So yeah, it's looking a little worse for wear. Let me flip it over so you can see the back and underside of this seat before we go ahead and start taking it apart. All right, there is the bottom of the seat and how the fabric is attached, or the vinyl is attached to the bottom here. Looks like there's a series of nails here that are probably going into some sort of nailing strip. We'll get there eventually. Seat bottom looks pretty good, actually. Looks like the original oxide primer. A lot of times you have to check for stress cracks through these mounting holes that mount up to the seat tracks. But other than that, looks pretty good. Obviously pretty worn here in the back. This looks probably like where the seat would be rubbing against the rear bulkhead. And it's got a bit of a wear mark through the cover there. Other than that, that's pretty much about it. I've already taken some notations on how this is nailed to the sides and bottoms here with the tack strip. So I think we're about ready to go ahead and start disassembling this. I've taken some still photographs as well so I can get it put back together. Again, I'm not sure how much difference there is between the driver's side seat, which is the non-folding side seat, versus the folding side seat, which would be on the passenger side. So there may be a few differences between the two, but anyway, we'll use this one as the guinea pig. Let's get ripping. All right, surprise, surprise. 2 for 1. We've got another cover underneath the new cover that was on top of it, or the newer cover that was on top of it. Obviously just tacked around the bottom here with these small little nails. You can see I'm taking out, so we've got another set of those to remove to be able to get this original cover off before we get to see what's actually underneath that. So It's looking pretty shallow at the top here, which leads me to believe that it's going to need to be padded out there at the top. So again, that's why we're taking these apart, to know exactly what we are dealing with underneath and what needs to be fixed before the new covers go on. So anyway, we'll go ahead and we will endeavor to now remove these original covers. All right, the original cover is off the seat, and we're just left now looking at the horsehair backing and the batting that goes around it. And there's a few little more trim pieces here that I just want to take note of, how they are kind of wrapped around the base here. They're not part of the actual seat back. So there you go. So basically, we'll do a little bit more investigation and a bit more cleanup. There are the tacking strips back here. I still have some nails to remove from here, but let's get these cleaned up a little bit better. Let's try to remove the back padding in one piece if we can, and have a little bit better look at what we have remaining. It's definitely crunchy. Snap, crackle, pop. So there you can see where the wear is on the back of the seat. But other than that, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's amazing that the batting is still relatively intact. So, yeah. All right, let's clean this up a bit more. Break out the vacuum cleaner and clean this up a little bit more. Take a bit more notes about how this vinyl is wrapped here. I'm a little bit concerned because I don't believe I have enough length in my vinyl roll that I have left to do a one-piece wrap around the fronts of these seats, but we'll see. Might have to do a two-piece somewhere and join it in the middle, but hopefully we'll have enough. All right, you and I thought it smelled bad yesterday. Well, today's another adventure. Anyway, it's off, and 60 plus years old. It's, you know, still realistically not bad a shape considering. It does need a lot of repair, but I think we're up for the challenge. So there you can see the back of the seat where everything was glued. I'm gonna take a few more photos here, still photos. Looks like that horsehair was wrapped around the back here, just inside this rear edge all the way around. You can see where the glue is sticking. So that gives me a good reference for how it was wrapped around the back of the seat to fill it out. And it looks like there was some batting under that as well. So we'll take a few more still photos, as I mentioned, before we actually go ahead and start cleaning this area up and able to, in order to start building it back together. Last thing we need to do is to take off the little remaining bits of vinyl down here and take a few notes around here, around the nailing strip on the bottom. A few little pieces of fabric to remove still there. Other than that, it's really down to just sort of figuring out how we want to clean this up and whether we want to paint this or not. But we'll see. Maybe after we clean it up and get all the old horsehair off, then we can decide whether we want to go ahead and paint this back. It actually looks, to be honest with you, under all of this glue residue, it looks to be, and really, if I just clean this up, for example, look how good that is. So these seats are actually in very good condition from what I can tell. So anyway, let me clean the rest of this up. Let me break out the vacuum cleaner and see how we can get these to clean up, and I'll bring you back for one more shot of this taken apart completely and cleaned up as far as we can do indoors at least. All right. You know what I was thinking while I was vacuuming? I was thinking, wonder if my mom is watching this video. She'd be very disappointed with me working on my coffee table. Oh, well, it is what it is. Anyway, looking much, much cleaner. And still obviously have some work to do, but that vacuumed up nicely. And you can see the nailing strip probably a little bit better in there now. So yeah, cleaned up pretty well. Back looks pretty good. So I guess we understand now what we need as far as materials are concerned. I do have some coming by way of Amazon later today into this evening. So we'll see what we get and we'll see what's usable. I am doing a few weird things, but we'll get there when we get there, as I say. So we'll put this aside until we get some materials in, and we'll think about this a little bit more and how we're going to attack it. All right, just coming up to the end of the night, and I figured I'd talk about the materials that I managed to put together in order to help me onto the next phase of this project, which will be the actual reupholstery of the seats. So first things first, the kit that I've bought is from Moss. So it is the red with the white piping in vinyl. The Moss part number, let me just check over here, is 642-055, and that's for the seat kit in red vinyl, as mentioned, with the white piping. So it comes basically very basic, seat back and seat bottom. That's all you pretty much get in the kit. There are other kits available for you to buy if you want to do new horsehair pads, new foam, new tack strips, etc., etc. I haven't bought those kits. I find them to be quite expensive for what they are. Maybe I'll regret it in the end, but for now, I'm going to do my own thing, and I've come up with a couple of things that I think will help me with my project, and I should be able to do a fairly good job using materials I've got together. I should mention that I'm still waiting on two things. I'm waiting on some 1/2-inch high-density upholstery foam that's coming tomorrow, and I'm waiting on some tack strips. May not need the tack strips based on what I saw on the first seat. You never know what the second seat's going to look like, but I may need some tack strips, so I bought some of those for use in the project if need be. I do already have in stock some thin foam if I decide that I want to use this somewhere. It's a fairly thin foam that can be bent, so I'm thinking maybe around the edges of the seat back I might want to use this before I actually do some of the wrapping with the quilting or the batting material. So that foam I already have available. So we've got that standing by. As mentioned, we have the batting. So I've got the cotton batting here. I've got a couple of packs of that. So we've got that standing by. Then we need to wrap the seat springs back in burlap. So I've got a bag of burlap standing by. This is 40 inches by 15 feet, so that should be enough to do 2 seats. So that is standing by, ready to go. Now, this is a little bit unorthodox, but I was trying to think of something that I could do to help with the horsehair. Like I said, there's a few thin spots in the horsehair that's on the car currently, and I'm planning on going back with the horsehair pads that were in the car. They're not in too bad a shape, and I think some of the areas can be repaired. So I was thinking what was fairly close to what horsehair is, and I came up with this, what's it called, core mat. So it's coconut fiber basically. So these are actually chicken laying pads. So they put these in chicken coops basically. So coconut fiber, fairly thin, and I figured I could use it to do a few repair sections in the areas that I need to. You can always use it to wrap it around. Again, it's going to be fairly flexible, enough for me to wrap it around like the edge and top side of the backs of the seat where this was on the original seat. I could probably use something like this as a substitution for the horsehair padding, or in addition to the horsehair padding, just to build it up a little bit. So we have those in squares. I've actually got it in a roll as well. This is a little bit thicker than these sheets as well. If I do need more thickness, I can always glue the two sheets together. So that is standing by. Hopefully that will work. We do have our hog ring pliers here. I already had these, so hog ring pliers, but I definitely needed to get more actual hog rings. So I've got 3 different sizes of hog rings here, depending on what size I'm going to need. So those are standing by, ready to go. I also got a sewing kit, so some nylon thread. So this is sail thread with the appropriate needles, so fairly big size needles. And I'm either going to use the sail thread, or I'm going to be using, if you notice what I took off the car in the video, it's a fairly thick, look like a cotton string. So I may just actually go ahead and use this. This is actually butcher's twine, which is cotton. So I may actually just go with the butcher's twine to sew on the burlap, for example, or sew on the horsehair padding down so it doesn't move. So I'll need something. So I'm thinking this might help. If not, we'll go with the nylon thread. It's very, very strong, and it's obviously going to be very durable. So we have that, and the needles required to do either the larger cotton thread or the smaller nylon thread. A couple other things I have just standing by, just some white plastic bagging, and this is probably going to help with me to be able to slip the covers on a little bit easier. I can slip the covers on and then pull this plastic out. Some guys will actually leave the plastic in, but I plan on pulling it out after I get the seat covers slid into position. Again, the seat covers might have to go on and off a few times, so this is going to probably help to help get them on and off a little bit easier. I'm sure I'm going to have to put them on and check for how things are padded out, and I may have to remove them and add some additional padding in certain areas. So I don't expect that it's just going to go on one time and stay on there. I expect it'll be on and off a couple of times. You never know. Might get lucky. It might go on one time and be good. The only other thing I have standing by are some rust paints. So just some trem clad, semi-gloss, and this is going to be for the seat bases. I want to get rid of that orange. So we're just going to scuff up the seat bases and paint the bases themselves. I don't believe I'm going to actually paint the seat backs. They're in pretty good shape. It will depend on what they look like after I clean them up a bit more of all the glue residue that's holding that leftover horsehair and batting on there. I don't plan on going too aggressive with that, so hopefully I don't have to paint the seat backs. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to wait a few days for the paint to cure. Otherwise, the glue is going to lift it. So I think we'll just try not to paint the seat backs in order to move the project along a little bit more quickly. Again, I don't really think they need to be painted anyway. All right, so that is the end. I guess we'll call this part 1, which is basically the disassembly of the seats or deconstruction of the seats. And on part 2, we'll start building up probably not sure whether I want to do the seat bottom or the seat backs first. The seat bottoms definitely do look easier than the seat backs, so I'm not sure whether I want to start with a hard project or an easy project, but again, as my favorite saying, we'll get there when we get there. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. We will see you on the next video, part 2 of the seat reupholstery. Thanks for watching.